Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 4 of the Vuelta a España, brought to you by Lupine Lights. Lupine Lights I've been riding since 2019, the finest set of bike lights I've used throughout my career, with Bluetooth connectivity, with an app on your phone to be able to adjust the headlamp so that you get the most out of your battery usage. They got daytime running mode, and of course they'll get you home safe at night. For your next adventure with Lupine Lights, make sure you use the code LupineLights24. Now let's get into today's stage 4 of the Vuelta a España. At 170 kilometers and 4 mountain passes, about 105 miles in length, we know this is going to be the first big selection for the GC contenders here at the 24 Vuelta a España, because red race leader's jersey right now with Visma Lease bikes, Wout van Aert, well, he's not a climber. He said so himself yesterday after winning stage 3. So we're going to see some magic work here on today's stage 4 and have to figure out who is going to be controlling this year's Vuelta a España. When the cameras come on, we're just under 120 kilometers ago. We got 5 riders in the front group. Bruno Arma is there, Pablo Castrillo is there from Kern Pharma, Filippo Zana from Jayco, Sylvain Monique from Lotto, Mikel Biscar from Escatel Escudilla round out the 5 riders in the front group at about 3.5 minutes. When we start looking back at the peloton, this is what I was most excited about when I went to bed last night. Who was going to be chasing? It's Bora-Hansgrohe on the front. Of course it is. Primoz Roglič, the number 3 biggest rider in the world up here on the Butterfly Effect. First, Tadej Pogacar, Jonas Vingegaard second, Primoz Roglič third. The only guy here at the Vuelta a España that's on the first page, that's Wout van Aert. And as I already told you, he's not interested in the mountain stage because he's already got himself a stage win. Now, with Bora-Hansgrohe on the front, why was I telling everybody on yesterday's Butterfly Effect Stage 3 that they had to force Bora-Hansgrohe on the front? Primoz Roglič is the premier rider here at the Vuelta a España. There's no doubt about it. And until you know differently, you never want to work with a rider like Primoz Roglič. If I take you back to days of the Giro d'Italia on Stage 2, when Tadej Pogacar didn't have the race leader's pink jersey after Stage 1, where he finished second on that stage, well, it was Ineos riding throughout that Stage 2, pulling Tadej Pogacar along. Here, no one at the Vuelta a España is making that mistake because Bora-Hansgrohe is riding the front. They're keeping the gap at just over 3 minutes to the 5 riders in front. When the 5 riders hit the second KOM here, it's going to be Sylvain Monique up there from Lotto Destiny that's grabbing maximum points. This is going to put him in the KOM jersey. These 5 guys are rotating through. There's only 2 riders back there from Bora-Hansgrohe pulling. It's Patrick Gamper back there and Nico Dins. They're doing a fine job of holding this group of 5, bringing the gap down to about 2 minutes when they start the 3rd category climb. Once they start going up this climb, the gap's at about 2 minutes, but Nico Dins, Patrick Gamper, they start backing up the throttle, and the group of 5 are going to gain an extra minute. They're going to go over the top with about 3 minute, 10-second gap on the peloton behind, and we're going to see Bruno Arma just light it up going for maximum KOM points. As he throws down with about 600 meters to go, he's pulling full gas, and he's going to win the KOM points and go over the top. The 5 guys are going to regroup back together with about 45 kilometers to go. Then we're going to see the peloton come over the top of the climb there at about 3 minutes and 15 seconds. The 5 riders up front, now they start messing around. Guys, there's 3 riders at the back. One's on his radio, one's calling the car, one's chatting with the car. They're going slow right now, and they had about 3 minutes and 15 seconds on the peloton with just 2 riders from Bora-Hansgrohe pulling. This is not the time for everybody to be stopping that's in the front group. We'll literally see all 5 of these guys at some point in time through the next 4 kilometers going back, chatting with their cars, getting things done, putting ice packs down their shirt, and they're going to give up 1 minute. Then we're going to see Bruno Arma finally get fed up with everyone. He's going to throw an attack, and we'll see Pablo bridge across from Kern Pharma. With 2 riders going up the road, the other 3 riders getting wrapped up with about 30 kilometers to go from Bora-Hansgrohe duel back there riding the front still. We come in about 18 kilometers to go, and we're coming in the feed zone section. I want to point this out because it looks a little bit dangerous to me while I'm sitting on the Chesterfield. It's Patrick Gamper from Bora-Hansgrohe. He's pulling over to the right side there, going to his feeder. As he reaches out, look, he has both hands off his handlebars, reaching over to the right side to his feeder. He'll grab the first one with his left hand there from the feeder that's got it out, and as the feeder starts to turn just a little bit, look at the right hand there of Patrick Gamper reaching in there and grabbing it out as the soigneur had it tucked under his arm there. He pulls out both. He doesn't crash remarkably. This was a very technical issue right here coming through the feed zone. And if Patrick Gamper just had the feeder just tap his bars, he'd have crashed hard at this moment. But I want to point something out with the feeder. As everything's happening with Patrick Gamper grabbing the 2 bottles from the feeder, look at the feeder as he's still looking straight down at the riders coming. His head never turns over to the right and looks at Patrick Gamper. He never turns backwards and loses sight of the peloton coming. He allows Patrick Gamper to do what he needs to do. Patrick Gamper grabs both bottles, as I said. But look as the feeder just continues to keep handing out 1, 2, 3 bottles to Bora-Hansgrohe there. The feeder is absolutely perfect in terms of his technique of delivering the bottles. Now you're like, Chris, why are you wasting our time with this? Many times when you see the crashes in the feed zone, it's the feeder either throwing the feed bag out that's going into the front wheel or the handlebar of the rider, or the feeder hands the bottle and he's holding the bottle too tight here. This feeder's holding the bottle straight from the top as he should be. And like I said, most important, his eyes never lose sight on the riders coming up on him. He always lets just Patrick Gamper do his thing. Then he hands out the bottles to the next rider. This was an ace clinic right here on stage 4 of the Vuelta a España from Bora-Hansgrohe. Now, Patrick Gamper goes to the front. He goes back to work. Nico Dins is going back to work. We're coming into about 15 kilometers to go. It's the sprint line competition. Up front, Pablo from Kern Pharma, he gets maximum points. But back in the peloton there, we see Albacin de Koenig on the front to grab third place, green points here on Caden Groves, who finishes 4th. Now the peloton goes back to work. It's Bora-Hansgrohe on the front here throughout today's stage 4. The 2 riders in front, their gap's going down to about 1 minute 15, 1 minute 20 seconds when the final climb starts here with 14.5 kilometers to go. As I told you, the first part of the climb is not real difficult. Everything difficult's coming just under 5.2 kilometers to go. As we see Bora-Hansgrohe setting the pace on the front, everybody's happy to let them go to work until we get into about 10 kilometers to go. Once we get into this point, we see UAE team members start popping there on the right side of the road, and that's Soler. I haven't seen much of the Solerism, but I have seen Marc Soler riding good throughout the 24 season, so he might be losing that little bit of ism to him. Right now, Soler's doing a good job. The peloton's starting to go wide with about 7.5 kilometers to go. It's Lidl Trek on the front. That's Vasek there. He got second on the individual time trial on stage 1. Tried to put himself in the red jersey, but he's come up short. Now he's selling out 100% for Skilmos. As we're coming under 7.5 kilometers to go, Lidl Trek's doing a fine job. We get into 6 kilometers to go. Now the real racing starts right here at the Vuelta a España. If you didn't have time to watch 120 kilometers of today's stage, make sure you watch the last 15 because it's exciting all the way from 15 to the finish. Now, with Soler on the front, he's driving it. Why is he driving it on the front? Right away, I was thinking, why do you want to pull Bora-Hansgrohe on the front? But, like I told you earlier in the video, 5.2 kilometers to go. It's a left turn coming up, and it's going to get super steep and nasty here real soon on stage 4. With Soler on the front, he starts to blow. Now we see Jay Vine getting on the front. Jay Vine was one of those casualties on stage 4 of the Basque Country earlier this season. Had multiple breaks throughout his body. He's all healed up now. Now he's driving it on the front. As he's driving on the front, leading it in to this left turn here to start the climb proper. Bora-Hansgrohe's just on the inside there. And as we come out of the turn, Bora-Hansgrohe won the battle with UAE Team Emmet sitting 2nd and 3rd. Jay Vine sitting in there. Primoz Roglič is in the front spot as they start this nasty climb. It's super steep. It's rough road, super narrow. And as they start to climb proper, look at my man, Victor Campenaerts. Well, he gets stuck in the middle of the field there. Probably dropped his chain, and you see his left foot go down. If I back the film up just a little bit to 7.5 kilometers to go, as Lidl Trek and UAE team members were all over the front with Bora-Hansgrohe setting a fast pace here on stage 5. It was my man Victor Campenaerts pulling to the front because he's got Lennart van Eltveld there. Van Eltveld's won the UAE Tour at the beginning of the season, but as I fast forward you back up to 5.2 kilometers to go where that left leg there from Victor Campenaerts went down, I can only imagine it caused chaos back to the GC favorites. Now we go to the front of the peloton. Jay Vine is on the front, but not for very long because it's Sivakov throwing an attack for UAE team members. This is the way you want to do it tactically for UAE team members. You want to try to throw in attacks on Bora-Hansgrohe. You definitely do not want to pull Primoz Roglič up this climb. Now, the only downside is Sivakov's attacking on the steepest part of the climb, and if I take you into my number 2 rule in the butterfly effect, you never want to attack on the steepest part of the climb, but Sivakov's going up the road. With the speed there of Sivakov, we look further back, Bora-Hansgrohe switched up their guys. Lipovic was on the front for a little bit, but now it's Vlasov on the front for Primoz Roglič. With Vlasov setting the tempo, he's starting to blow. As he blows, we go up to the front, and we're going to see Sivakov wrap up all the breakaway riders here on stage 5 with the 2 riders. Pablo up there getting caught last. With the stage victory on the win, if I back the film all the way up, we know that Wout van Aert got dropped early in this climb. So you got a stage victory and the race leader's red jersey up for grabs here at stage 4 of the Vuelta a España. Now Primož Roglič sees his teammate Vlasov start to blow as he can't quite close the gap to Sivakov, so Primož Roglič goes to the front. He starts setting a tempo, bringing back Sivakov up front from UAE team members, and everything starts blowing up. He's got about 7 riders on his wheel. We see the last year's race leader here, Sepp Kuss from Visma Lease bike, dropping off and opening up a gap in that second group. Primož Roglič is riding the front. He's bringing back Sivakov. Now we got 8, 9 riders in this front group. It's changing all the time at this moment. You got to go back and watch it live if you want to know the exact numbers. But Primož Roglič is on the front. As he caught Sivakov, everything slowed up. Sepp Kuss brought that second group, and he had some company with Lennart van Etveld from Lotto Destiny back there on his wheel and a few other riders. It's starting to all come back together, and we're coming into 4 kilometers to go, where we're going to see Felix Gall from AG2R throw an attack. Bruno Armai was his teammate leading this whole stage 4 in that breakaway as he had gotten caught. Now it's time for Felix Gall. Felix Gall throws an attack. Primož Roglič is hesitating just a little bit, looking around, seeing who's going to do the work, but Primož Roglič stays on the front. While Primož Roglič is getting on the front, you come into the nasty hairpin left bend there as Primož Roglič starts to accelerate. It's blowing up now. The Slovenian on the front for Bora-Hansgrohe. He signed this year for Bora-Hansgrohe to do something big. Now he's starting to show why he's the 3rd #1 rider in the world on Butterfly Effect. He's drilling it. It's blowing up in the back. He's got 2 riders on his wheel at this moment. When we start looking at the picture, we see Moss is in fine form. Lennart van Etveld is there from Lotto Destiny. This is the ride of the 24 season. Primož Roglič starts bringing back Felix Gall. We're coming into about 2.8 kilometers to go as he starts wrapping up Felix Gall. Now we got 4 riders in the front. We got multiple riders chasing back there. They're blown up all over the place. But as Primož Roglič accelerates again on the pedals, before we come off this super steep section here, we're going to see Felix Gall blow. When Felix Gall blows, the camera's back up. What's happening back there? Riccatello's back there. We see Almeida. Almeida got dropped early, and he must have just dieseled his way past all of his teammates, because now it's Almeida, Riccatello, and Felix Gall. But up front with 2.2 kilometers to go, as the right turn starts to finish this super steep section of 13.5% average, Primož Roglič is on the front. He's got Moss with him. He's got Lennart van Etveld with him. But they got a gap on the 3 riders behind. But Almeida's in diesel mode, and the steep section of this final climb here at stage 4 of the Vuelta has just eased up. With Primož Roglič on the front, he's looking back over his shoulder. Gets a little bit of help from Moss, but Lennart van Etveld there from Lotto Destiny, he's got an ugly looking face he's putting on, and he doesn't want to quite come through, so the pace starts to slow a little bit. As it slows, the diesel back there, Almeida, UAE team member, is trying to save the general classification for his team as he's pulling his 2 riders with him on his back wheel, Felix Gall and Riccatello. I said Lennart van Etveld was the rider of the season, but maybe Riccatello is. This young kid's having a phenomenal stage 4 right now. As they bridge up, we see Almeida closing the gap. Now we got 6 riders in the front. We're coming into about 1.4 kilometers to go. The camera backs down. We see last year's race winner, Sepp Kuss, back there. He's got Sivakov just in front of him. Just in front of those 2, we look there, that's Tibieri. Tibieri finished 5th at the Giro d'Italia. Now look at that little rider slightly up to the left of the picture. That's Mikel Landa. Mikel Landa standing up, sprinting right now, trying to close the gap to the 6 riders in front. As the camera finds the 6 riders again, we see they're playing games. They're looking backwards, they're hesitating. Then the cameras find Mikel Landa again, as we see with about 800 meters to go. Mikel Landa is almost on the back of this group of 8, but guess what? There's attack from Riccatello. Matthew Riccatello there. I know his dad, Jimmy. Jimmy lives over there in Phoenix, and I've done some coffee rides with Jimmy. Now we see with Riccatello up there throwing an attack, it gets brought back right away. As the camera goes back and find Landa again, he can't quite close the gap because there's attack coming again. Now we go back up front. It's time for Felix Gall to throw an attack. But Primož Roglič is all over it. That group stays together. As they start to slow, finally with about 500 meters to go, Mikel Landa went 5th at this year's Tour de France. He latches onto the back of the group, stays there just for a few moments, and then he throws in his attack as we're coming under about 300, 250 meters to go. Landa throws in a vicious attack on the right side. Lennart van Etveld jumps on it right away. We're going under 200 meters to go as Mikel Landa's getting wrapped up with about 125 meters to go. Primož Roglič has got a gap behind the wheel there of Lennart van Etveld. He can't quite close up. Lennart van Etveld passes Mikel Landa Landa there going on the right side. We see Primož Roglič start to roll up to the back wheel. They're in full sprint mode right now. As they come into about 75 meters to go, Primož Roglič is onto the back wheel there of Leonard van Adveld. Now at 25 meters to go, the road starts to bend. We look at Leonard van Adveld. He's got this stage won, but Primož Roglič has started his attack around the outside on the left there of Leonard. As Leonard goes into 15 meters to go, he sits down and stops his sprint. 10 meters to go, he starts to celebrate, but Primož Roglič is flying up the left side. 1 meter to go, Primož Roglič throws the bike, wins today's stage here at the Vuelta a España to take his 13th stage victory here at the Vuelta. Now, Leonard van Adveld, you see him pound the handlebars there. He knows he gave up a stage win here, the biggest stage victory here of his young career here for Lotto Destiny. He'll finish second. Who finished third? Almeida was back there towing in the group there for third to round out the podium. 7 guys will get the same time here on stage 4 that Primož Roglič will enjoy winning. As he is warming down, he's asked some question how he felt, and he said his teammates never asked him how he felt today. They just went to work and did a big-time job here to try to help Primož Roglič win the stage, so he didn't have an option but to go for the win here on stage 4 of the Vuelta a España. He also reminds all of us that life's not always up. No truer words have ever been said. There's always ups and there's always downs. It's going to happen in professional cycling, and it's going to happen to you guys sitting on the Chesterfield throughout your lives. There's no doubt about it, as Primož Roglič reminds all of us. Now, the losers on today's race. Well, Sepp Kuss did a pretty good job, actually. He got dropped, he came back on, he got dropped again, but he only lost about less than 30 seconds here on today's stage 4. Finished at 11th, if I remember correctly, when the stage was all said and done. So Sepp Kuss is still in the running, but we start looking at riders like Adam Yates. Adam Yates blew pretty hard, so he's lost some massive time here on stage 4, and a ton of the GC favorites did. Carapaz lost time. Rigoberto Urán was the first rider to get dropped here on stage 4. All the GC was mixed up here in one monster 3 kilometers from 5.2 to 2.2 kilometers to go, where everybody that didn't have perfect legs here on stage 4 blew up. As Primož Roglič, to me, while I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, he looked like he was pretty easy on the pedal and rode a tactically intelligent race. It's difficult coming into the first mountain stage of a Grand Tour not knowing where everybody's level was, especially when you crest the top at about 2.2 kilometers to go. I know it still goes up to the line, but it eases up there. So if Primož Roglič does manage to blow going up the steeper part on the first race back, first mountain stage back since the Tour de France crash, he rode it intelligently. He controlled everybody. He did the most amount of work and certainly deserved today's stage 4 victory. So tip of the hat here to Primož Roglič on the butterfly effect. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Tomorrow should be another sprinter stage. After that, though, start getting interesting here at the Vuelta a España all over again. But Primož Roglič and Bora-Hansgrohe got a day off tomorrow as we start seeing the sprinter teams come back to life for stage 5 of the Vuelta a España. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.